What is up, everybody? I am the Dharma Guy here on Dharma Time. You are watching us live, hopefully, on WPSN, or excuse me, Facebook.com/WPSN99. I apologize. It is a different time for us, so let me go ahead and bring in the Dope Doctor here. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Morning.
Yeah, man. It's morning for us. We have not. I don't know if we've ever done a show this early in all the 10 years that we've been doing these
No.
things together. But ta-da! Here we are. Full disclosure, yesterday we tried to have one, but there were some technical difficulties, so we moved it to today. And
Yep.
I guess it kind of works out a little bit because we're going to talk about the Derek Chauvin thing, and we actually got the
Yeah.
verdict yesterday, so now we have more to discuss.
Yeah, we wouldn't have known.
No, no. Well, actually, it might have. I don't know what time. No, it
No.
came out at 5, so yeah, we
No.
would have already been
No.
done.
Hmm.
But yeah, anyways, so first of all, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Um, If you're watching live and want to comment, you can do that on Facebook.com/WPSN99. We'd love to have your thoughts throughout the show. We'll do our best to get to them and read them. Um, if you're listening to this on a later date, I don't know what day you normally listen to it, but we normally do the show live on Tuesdays, so it is now Wednesday morning, bright and early, 9:30 a.m. I literally just had breakfast, so hopefully I won't fall asleep on you guys. Get that, yeah, the jogginess now. Um, but anyways, as always, please like, follow, subscribe, things of that nature. Hit the button; it does help us. If you want to follow us
Oh,
individually on social media, he is at the Dope Doctor. I am at the Dharma Guy, and together we are at WPSN99. And while you're at it, check out at Now Matters More. That is the foundation of which I am the president. He is the founder. We help individuals struggling with the disease of addiction. You can check us out at nowmattersmore.org, or you can call 833 Now Matters. That's 833 Now Matters. Um,
smart.
and real quick, man, we just had our golf tournament back in whatchamacallit, April 12th, I think it was. It was Monday, April
Mm.
12th. And oddly enough, what we do is we help individuals with the disease of addiction. And afterwards, there was an individual that was within the tournament that was there to help us. It was a volunteer. I got an email from this person. Yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I got an email in the morning asking for help, saying that the person that they're very close with is struggling right now and needs help. And then later on that evening, I got another email of her saying, "Thank you, appreciate it. The person's getting help." So I'm going to call that person today. But the point is, that's what we do. They reached out to us in the morning. And by the afternoon, that person was in treatment. So right on. And thank you,
Yeah.
Louie, for doing your thing on that one.
Yeah. I got a nice thank you from her. I got to remember to respond to it.
Yeah, same
Um,
here. I'm going to call
she
today.
says, "Wow, she went there just for a golf tournament and ended up helping save a life of a person very
Yep.
close to her. That was cool."
So speaking of saving lives, so let's talk about a life
Wait,
that
wait.
wasn't saved.
Speaking of golf tournament, did you
Uh,
notice the hat I have on, by the
I
way?
do. I don't have mine at the moment. My wife is in there sleeping, so I can't go in there and grab it. But
Hey,
Ian
thank
would be
you to
pleased.
Ian.
That's
Yeah.
right. I've,
Thank you,
I've been
Ian.
wearing mine actually a lot lately. I haven't worn it today. Today's like a weird day. I got a shirt on, dude. Right? Have you noticed that? But
I did.
it's a
I did.
Ewok eating a bowl of noodles out of a stormtrooper's head. I don't know. Anyways, so like I said, speaking of lives that were not saved, so we've already done a show, and I encourage you to go back if you're interested in our thoughts. But we did a show on the whole George Floyd incident when it first happened. We gave our opinions and our take on what was going on from a spiritual standpoint.
Hmm.
But the other thing that we wanted to cover now is the trial. And so yesterday, because the trial was over and they were waiting on the verdict, we wanted to have a show kind of just to talk about some of the things that we were seeing.
Yeah.
And then the computer gods were not happy with us, so we had to postpone. But now we know the verdict, and obviously for anybody who's living under a rock or doesn't know, he was guilty on all counts, which
Yeah.
I think for the most part people not only expected but wanted. Um, and so we're not going to talk too much on the verdict because I mean, it is what it is. It's either black or white. It's either
Right.
guilty or not. But I think we're going to spend a majority of our time on today with just our thoughts surrounding the verdict and the trial. Some of the things we saw, things
Yeah.
we liked, some things we didn't like, I guess. And I'll
Well,
start.
still even.
Yeah, and even now today. So I'll start, I guess, and we're gonna put our thoughts out there. If you guys got any of your own thoughts, by all means, chime in.
Mm.
But the thing that I kept noticing that kind of bothered me, right, was, and it's a fundamental bother that's always kind of bothered me, and that was the death penalty, right? The death penalty bothered me in the sense of I've seen way too many people on death row get off because of DNA or things of that nature. So there's a lot of innocent people. And so the idea that we're going to tell you that killing is bad, and I'm going to show you killing's bad by killing somebody, it just feels hypocritical to me. I understand the idea of it, and I understand the desire for blood when somebody that you love and care about is murdered in such a way. I understand that, but it doesn't mean I agree with it. It doesn't mean I think it's right. I mean, I think that lends itself to our darkest nature. And I don't know if it's a good thing to let our darkest nature win out. I mean, we have it, and I think it's okay to have it. You know, if there's a situation where survival comes in and you need to tap into that primal thing we have inside of us to survive, I get it. But putting somebody on death row and you know, flipping the switch, there's no primalness to that. It's straight up, we don't think you deserve to live because of this. And I don't. It's hard to me to think that I can tell you that you don't have the right to tell somebody when they could live or die, but we do. I don't know. It's always rubbed me the wrong way, especially because there's so many innocent people, right? But now, granted, he did not. They were not asking for the death penalty, I don't think, and I'm not sure if it's even in that state or not. But that didn't stop the people, and that's what I was curious about. The people, and my mom just chimed in, and she showed, and she's right. Statistically speaking, the death penalty has not been a deterrent, and rightfully so, right? Like I don't know how many people are watching this that have done criminal acts. I know I have partook in my fair share, and never going into a legal act that I think to myself, I'm going to get caught one day, and what's going to happen? No, you're just in the moment. You do your thing. It's not until afterwards that you're like, uh-oh. And even then, it's
Well,
not even afterwards.
I think because a lot of it takes too long. At least with the death penalty, when it takes 10 or 15 years, is it really
Yeah,
even? I
sure.
mean, if it was
Um,
immediate, like it used to be, like the hanging, I
eh,
mean, maybe we'd look at death penalty very different.
maybe, but even then, they did a lot of hanging, so you know apparently that didn't work either.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I digress. That's a debate for another day. The point that I want to focus on today is the what I'm going to call vengeance that was being advocated for amongst the people.
Right.
That is what I have a problem with. You know, the actual incident itself, which we can call murder now because he's been convicted of it, the actual
Hmm.
murder that took place, um, it was egregious. You know, I don't think anybody watched that video and thought to themselves afterwards, "All right, that was great." No, it was pretty horrible. I mean,
Hmm.
it was horrible for everybody. You know, just the
Yeah.
whole thing was just a very unfortunate situation that sucked. Um, but you know, man, the vengeance that people are calling for, it brought out a side of individuals that I just don't know if I
Right.
like. I don't like the fact that it was popularized. You know what I mean? Like it was
Right.
encouraged. I think it was Maxine Waters got out there and was encouraging this type of behavior. Like that is not how our system works, dude. We are not designed. Our laws are not set up to say, hey, if you don't agree with something, go out there and just burn everything down, cause a bunch of ruckus, marking. That's not necessarily how we're set up. We're a nation of laws, and we have a legal system that we need to let it play out. Um, and that just didn't happen really, you know. And once again, in this particular case, it's so egregious. I get it. You know, we had video evidence the whole nation saw. And it just so happened that we were already home for COVID, and so we all just watched it, and we had nothing else to focus on. So it elicited a lot of emotional responses. I get that, but aren't we better than that? I guess aren't we better than just being governed by our raw emotions? I understand the value of them, but shouldn't that be tempered with some logic, some common sense, some reasoning, some compassion? And I think that's where we're sitting at right now. Because what I saw was vengeance, not justice. To me, our nation has defined what justice means. You do a crime, you get caught, you go through a jury of your peers. If you're found guilty, then you get sentenced based upon our laws, and serving out that sentence is the justice. That's what
Right.
we've all agreed upon, whether you like it or not. That's the nation we live in. That's the Constitution we are all abiding by. That's what we have. And so
Right.
people saying that no matter what happens, they have to have a guilty verdict and they have to have that, or he should die now, or there's no
Right.
justice until he's dead. That's not justice, people. That's vengeance.
Right.
And I personally have never had to encounter anything like that, but I've seen a lot of like documentaries. I've seen a lot of interviews for people who have, and almost all of them say the same thing. It didn't help. It didn't take the pain away. You know, that
Yeah.
person dying did not bring their loved one back. It didn't satisfy. Matter of fact, I've seen a lot of them say that it actually made it worse. Living with the knowledge of the, you know, that they participated in that process. You know the ones, and this is, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off here actually. You know the ones that I've seen, and this is, and I never thought, if you would ask me like 15, 20 years ago if I would say this, I'd say no, there's no way in hell. But
Uh-oh.
the the videos or the interviews and stuff that I've seen of the people who have healed the most, who are doing the best emotionally and mentally after a loss such as that, are the ones that forgave their perpetrator.
Hmm.
Those are the ones that I see doing the absolute best. They are the healthiest. They have moved on with their lives. They have grieved. They have full closure, and they are as okay as you can be after losing somebody in such a horrific nature. But the ones that forgave that person are the ones that are doing the best. Not the ones that were out there with pitchforks screaming, "Hey, we need to kill this dude." Like, I understand the need for that. I get it, but it doesn't really scratch the itch that you're trying to scratch. It just doesn't. You think it does, and it feels good at this time, but look at what it did to our country. Our country, it divided our country more so than I've seen a lot, and then we still are. You know, even now, I know friends and family, people who've lost friends because they've had a difference of opinion on that. So I've been flapping my guns for a while, man. Let me go ahead and let you pontificate for a minute.
Oh
And
boy.
Trisha, thank you for commenting. Ellie, hi, how you doing? We see you guys.
The well, I'm going back to hearing a lot of what the crowds were saying. And
Yeah,
I'm talking about the peaceful protesters, not the rioters. I think there are those that were out there rioting, looking for vengeance, looking for a reason to just act out,
right.
and to express anger and frustration. And I don't think their anger and frustration is just about the system. I think it's because of people's own failures, of people's own inabilities, of people's own salary caps, of people's own uh, ceilings. you know,
Right.
there's a lot of reasons why people are frustrated. Um, and then you had the peaceful protesters, and the peaceful protesters had a good message. Uh, they wanted peace, right? Or but they said no justice, no peace. So
Right.
that's I think why we're talking about vengeance, or justice, because I don't think that a lot of people truly even understand those words right now. Trinity, I'm hearing a lot
No.
of people, including very educated people, including political people, people in elected officials, say you can't have justice because Floyd is dead, so there is no justice. Well, then that means that our system doesn't have justice then, because you can never bring a dead person back.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if the
That's a pretty high
definition of
bar.
justice, yeah, well, if the definition of justice is for a person to be alive, then there is no such thing, right? If
Yeah.
that's the definition you put upon it. And also, if you look everything out of a lens of your own pain, your own personal pain, be it by your race, your color, your culture, your financial status, your place in society, then everything that happens out in our society that kind of speaks to your own personal narrative of pain, well, then that's the way you're going to look at it, and that's the way you're going to see it. And I always looked at things, Trinity, and I like that this is a spiritual show, focusing on the spiritual aspect, because I always, when I was going through all my internal pains, I didn't have a media, or I didn't have a parental unit. Now, neither of my parents allowed me to sit in my victimhood. Neither of them, nor my family, nor my brother, nor my teachers, nor the political system in which I was raised in, the government, the schools. Nobody validated the things that I was expressing when I felt like a victim.
Right.
Remember, I got hit in school, and there's a lot of people watching that when you did something poorly at
The
school, they hit
paddle.
you with a
Yep.
paddle. I got
Yep.
paddled. It was always a choice. Shall we call your parents, or shall we strike you with a paddle? I always picked the paddle. Now, that also was not a deterrent, yet it was done over and over and over again.
Yep.
Um, every adult in the community was kind of able to to mistreat you, or to belittle you, or to speak a certain way to you, and we always had to obey them. Now, I'm not saying any of that was right. Actually, I think a lot of that was wrong. But it didn't teach us justice. It didn't teach us how to deal with vengeance. It didn't teach us how to deal with our emotions and our frustrations over the internal stuff. But what did teach me how to deal with the internal stuff, Trinity, was philosophy, was spirituality,
Yep.
was the basic principles of not only why we are here, but what's your purpose of continuing to exist and doing all this. Okay, there's pain. Okay, there's racism. Okay, there's frustration. Not everybody likes you, Louis. You know, yeah, some people are going to call you a wetback. Some people are going to call you a spick. Some people are going to say you're short, you're tall, you're skinny, you're fat, whatever they're going to say. But the true point, what I was taught, is what are you going to do about it? And do they really matter? Those people that talk like that, those people that feel like
Exactly.
they don't matter. What matters is how you feel about yourself. What matters is how you behave, how you respond. And you don't react to the world's negativity. What you do is you put out your own personal positivity based on your belief system. And that's what I was taught. And those are the things, Trinity, that I think that we need right now, especially
Yeah.
for our young children that are watching all this. And if you and I, in our 40s and 50s, can't understand, are we watching justice? Are we watching vengeance? Are we watching peace? What are we watching here? If we don't get it, then what are we supposed to expect for the 13-year-old and the
Yeah.
15-year-old? And then we just blame their generation of saying, this generation. Well, we're not teaching them. We're not teaching them
Yeah.
properly.
Well, the other thing, on that same note, the thing that I don't like is, yeah, I personally have been watching, quite a bit of news here and there for our We the Middle show, and
Right.
I'm not hearing a lot of people condemning. Well, it depends on which channel you watch, really, I guess, but I'm
Condemning what?
not hearing a bunch of people condemning this thirst for vengeance, right? Like I'm hearing it encouraged. Even normal, average, everyday people who normally wouldn't do this kind of
Right.
thing, they're so taken aback by the video, and I
Right.
understand that even those people are kind of encouraging or supporting this vengeance. And it's like, well,
Right.
wait a minute, what are you doing? Like, what do you? So basically, this one thing, because it's caught on film, now we all have to just all of our sensibility goes out the window, and all of our laws,
Right.
all the things that we fought for, just goes right out the window
Right.
now because of this particular case. No, that's the point. Is we're a nation of laws, and like you said earlier about justice, justice was served. I'm sorry, it was. You can't bring him back, right? But you can punish somebody to the fullest extent of the law. So he was found guilty by a jury of his peers. He
Right.
was he was tried and he was found guilty. Now at this point he's going to be sentenced, and
Right.
whatever the sentence comes down, some are going to think it's too heavy, some are going to think it's too light. It was what it was supposed to be. That's how our system works. They get to decide what the sentence is going to be, and he's going to have to go serve it. But this idea that like, dude, I'm hearing like average everyday people, just normal random people, are like calling for his death right now, saying it's not good
Well,
unless he dies. It's like, whoa,
well,
dude.
well, if I may, Trinity,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that because the narrative is not about Floyd. Like people use the
No,
name Floyd. You people out there that are really angry and frustrated, and you're wanting all these. You don't even know Floyd. You know nothing about Floyd.
no.
You know nothing
They're making him
about
out to be a saint
anything
too, by the way.
about his family, about what he stood for, nothing. That's not what you're even saying. But let's talk about the truth because that's where we need to get to. We need to get to a
Sure.
dialogue of truth here. What we're talking about is your own personal pains and your views of all the messages that we've been inundated with. Remember, I'm going to call them our parents. Our parents, the Democrats and Republicans. Because let's face it, as much as this isn't we the middle, you're tapping into a political issue, Trinity. So if
Yeah,
we're
of
going to
course.
talk about our parents, which is our congressmen, our senators, these are like our parents, right? And they're so busy fighting, and they're feeding us so many messages. They've painted this situation to be about race, when none of that has been proven like that. Now,
No.
I can look out of anything as a racial issue. I mean, am I supposed to believe that any time a Hispanic person is in a bad situation or judged against or hurt or beaten up or attacked that it must be because they were Latino? See, if I view the world out of a racial lens, then that's all I'm going to see. Well, we've had our mom and dad promote that and said that's exactly
Yep.
what this was. This wasn't a situation about Chauvin and Floyd. This was about all white people against all black people. And by doing that, That is why so many people are crying for the vengeance they're looking for, because
Sure.
those are deeper issues. Like if I just call you a jerk, that doesn't really mean anything to you, Trinity. But if I start saying your mother, your kids, and I start getting into your family and your bloodline and your culture, or whatever it is, it starts getting a little deeper. You're like, whoa, 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 back off there, Sparky. That's now you're getting a little too deep. Now you're getting a little too personal,
Sure.
and I think that's why people are feeling the way they're feeling, because they're taking it very personal. And
Yeah.
one thing is you or a child or somebody that doesn't get it calling it that and taking it personal. But there's no adult in the room saying, hey, hey, it's not personal. This wasn't
No.
about you. I know you empathize with what happened, and we all should empathize with what happened. Nobody likes what happened, and the small percentage of people, and it is a very, very, very small percentage of people that don't care about what happened. They don't matter. What matters is, as a people, as an American society, we do care. But let's not take this as an opportunity to hate our own brothers and sisters who, they're not your enemy and they're not
No.
the problem. This is a time where this should be a learning tool, right? Like you always say, like when you have issues with your kids, you call it a teaching moment,
Yep.
right? This is a teaching moment. But what we're being taught is that violence does get you what you want, that threats do get you what you want,
Yes.
that acting out does get you what you want, that hating your own brother is justified because you and your circle are on the right side of that, not the
Yep.
majority, because you're being fooled of what the majority really is, because the majority of the world is very racially divided. Most countries are 100% racially divided. You can go into most countries and 90% of the people what they're going to look like, what they're going to sound like, what foods they're going to eat, what music they're going to listen to. Pretty much. This is a very unique situation. So we look at everything out of this American lens and thinking, oh, maybe everybody feels like we. No, they don't. When they come here, they may start feeling like that when they become Americanized. But you go there, no. What is Jaime saying on the thing, by the way?
He said, I didn't. I don't know how someone can be convicted of three types of murder on the same subject. An appeal revoking a conviction is plausible. Yeah,
Yeah,
legally that does sound weird that you're convicted of three types of murder for one murder. Like it does seem kind of odd.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I don't
I
know
don't
all
get
the
it
ins and
either.
outs of that one. I don't know all the penal
Well,
code for
Jaime, you're
that.
an attorney. You know better.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't.
Exactly. Um, yeah, I think it's just I agree with you that a lot of it is convoluted with the media and how they're putting it out there. Um, I think it was you and I were talking, and you were asking me. We were just discussing a little bit, and I didn't really give an opinion as far as to what is or isn't going to happen with the judge because I haven't watched the trial, so I don't know all the different bits of evidence that have
Right,
been put out there, and that's the
right,
thing that we don't want to acknowledge is
right.
like I remember happening. We had this huge case. You'll remember this. We had a huge case here not too long ago with Casey Anthony. And I remember I didn't watch the Casey Anthony trial. I just and oddly enough, it was literally like a mile from my house is when all this stuff went
Yeah,
down. But regardless, during the Casey Anthony trial, um, what was seen on the media and everything else and what came out, man, it had people like fired up. Like, there was people glued to their TVs. This was like the
right.
greatest soap opera that's ever been invented, man. People were
Yeah,
all over that.
yeah,
But I didn't really watch the trial, so I didn't get all hyped up the way everybody else did. But I was watching them get all hyped up, and then I remember when the verdict was coming out. Everybody that I spoke to was so convinced that she was going to be guilty and everything else. So when she got off, people lost their minds. Like people act like they had an actual vested interest in how this whole thing went down,
right.
and they didn't. And so that's why when these things, I think there was another one up in Georgia when that happened. You and I were kind of on the air, I think, shortly after that. And the thing you and I kept saying was, I don't have like a video footage is nice, but it doesn't show everything. It shows
Yeah,
that snippet in time from that one angle. That's
yeah,
it. It doesn't show context. It doesn't show intent. It doesn't show before, and it doesn't show after. It's just,
right.
boop, here we go. And that can look very horrible and damning and make you walk away with a certain kind of feeling.
Yeah,
But when they're in the legal proceedings, they get to see everything, right? They get to see the before, the during, the after. They get to see witness testimony. They get to hear all sorts of things. So their decision is different, and that to me I think is important It's important to notate that, because that is how our justice system works. It doesn't work because we're at home watching our TV and we get fed a certain perspective of it, then we're going to throw the book. And that's what I don't like, is how quick we are. We're so bloodthirsty at times, right? We have this weird, and I'm guilty of it to an extent. Thankfully, I've washed myself of most of it. But this idea, this tit for tat idea, right? I mean, look at all of our idols when I was a kid, all of our big action stars, the Rambos and all that. It was all about just, even now, today, right? Like, what was
First
it?
Blood.
Even today's world, John Wick, right? John Wick goes out and kills, like, basically everybody because they hurt his dog. His dog. A replaceable item. It's going to die anyways. They're a dog. And somehow it's justified. I get it. It's a member of the family. It's a dog. It's going to die. When you buy it, you know you're getting the tragedy. But somehow we all got behind a dude slaughtering hundreds of people for that very. So that's like, we have this weird idea in our country of this vengeance of, like, if you wrong
Yeah.
me, somehow I'm justified in
Yeah.
physically imposing my will on you.
Yeah.
And that's just not healthy.
No.
It's not true. People ask me all the time, what would happen if, like, some scenario will happen,
Right.
and it freaks them out when I tell them, well, I hope that I do the right thing. I hope
Right.
that I allow the legal system and the police to do their thing. Like, if somebody came by and hurt one of my kids or something, I hope that I do the right thing and allow the police to do their job, arrest the person and put them in jail, do whatever. I don't know if I'm skillful enough to do that. Hopefully, I never have to find out.
Yeah.
But
Right.
when I tell people that, they all immediately are like, they're taken aback. Like, what? No way. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? And it's like, but then you're no better. If you take the law into your own hands and go out and hurt this person, because you might think that it feels good, but you're opening Pandora's box at that point.
Yeah.
And Ian said Trinity's going to be in trouble about that dog comment.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Newsflash, people: if you buy a dog, it's going to die before you. Sorry.
I
just
like
had
the
one.
way you don't just double down, you triple down.
You're damn right, man. It's called facts. Um,
Well, we
but
don't understand facts these days, Trinity. Here's what we understand. We understand emotion, and I think that again, being Dharma time, I think we need to remember who we are in this moment for this particular show, and for this moment, I think we need to understand that processing whatever emotion you're experiencing by watching all of this is very important for you as an individual. I think you're going to be much better off and healthier if you kind of remove some of your political ideologies and just think philosophically, think spiritually, dig into whatever you believe in. Take this as a moment to find out what your children really believe, what their philosophies really are, not what you think they are because they were raised in your household, but what they really are, what their spirituality really is, and take this as a teaching moment to help them understand that humans are very flawed. Humans do a lot of ridiculous things to each other, but that doesn't justify you doing that to another person. And I'm going to give you an example, Trinity. As much as I am very vengeful in a lot of my thinking, I'm very revenge oriented. For instance, you cut me off, you're probably not going to get the calm, peaceful me. If you bump into me and I feel like you didn't acknowledge like an apology or something like that, I may say something. I mean, on most days, I'm not as healthy as I'd like to be in those situations, is what I'm saying. But that doesn't mean that's what I teach my children. That's the point.
Right.
What I'm saying is my flaws or my reactions may have served me well for my time period in life. May have served me well for the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, maybe. But they're no longer applicable and healthy in 2021. And so what I see right now is a lot of people, news media, adults, parents, forgetting that these children have not witnessed some of the pains that you really have. So you still view things out of a color lens and a victim lens, but a lot of these children, they commingle. There are more white and black kids in relationships than ever before, and completely acceptable. I'm not saying always acceptable, because, I mean, try marrying a Chinese woman and going into China and see how acceptable her family is about you. Look, that's just the way it is. Most people prefer someone that looks like them, culturally like them. That's just the reality. If you got a problem with that, that's on you. John Lennon died. He's not around. That doesn't exist. Now we're getting as close as we can, but it's got to be pushed within our own family unit first, not outside. Don't go trying to push it to somebody else. Just push it in your own family unit. So use this as a moment to talk to your kids about. Listen, they don't hate you, son. I mean, if you have a black child, and if one of my daughters, well, I mean, my oldest, he's a dark guy, right? But he's a Latino, but he's a dark guy. So his children may face some things, right? I'm not going to teach him, hey, because you're dark, this is what you're going to get. I'm gonna continue to educate him and says, listen, you don't have to view the world like that. There's a lot more people out there that love you and care about you and do not judge you. So don't focus on the few minority of people that are going to say things that may call you a name, that may say that they're irrelevant. That's not the way the world looks at you. Actually, most of the world loves you, cares about you. And that's just the way it is. And so when you have these moments, if you feel like that, please come talk to me. Let's talk about it. And the reason is because the racism that my generation experienced is a lot more than the racism that this generation has experienced. The difference is that their emotions are being validated, and instead of saying no, most people actually care about you. Matter of fact, if you watch the news and watch how many people are actually where he died last night when they showed the crowd gather of where he died. I saw all white people.
Yeah.
Those were all white people there with Black Lives Matter like banners. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the reality of who we are. We actually love each other a lot more than we hate each other. And that's why I think the vengeance part is vengeance for what and about what? What does justice really look like? So when you say the word justice, what does that really look like to you? What is it you want? And how did this have anything to do with your emotions being on such high alert?
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad you touched on what you said earlier, and that is, there doesn't seem to be a grown opinion in the room telling everybody to calm down a little bit. Like, it's okay to feel these things, it's not okay to act these things out. And I think that's what has bothered me the most, is a lot of the behavior that I'm seeing out there is just being signed off on by our talking heads, essentially.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just being signed off on. Like, oh, and you understand that nobody's saying, hey, like, I get you're angry, but it's still not right to do these things.
Correct.
Like, let's let the system work out. They're not, correcting it. When my little kids, when they fight about stuff, I let them know, like, yeah, I understand it's frustrating when that happens, but it's not okay to hit them. It's not okay to do this. Like, you don't do those things.
Or to say those words. Like, it's not okay to call them that name. No, that was unacceptable.
But there doesn't seem to be that narrative at the moment. It just seems like just a collective, like, man, if I didn't know any better, if I didn't have the education that I have and the insight that I have and the experience that I have, if I was just watching what the adults are saying, then yeah, if somebody hurts you, you can go hurt them. Not a big deal. That's your right now.
Right.
And that's sad, because that's not how. What was it? An eye for an eye just leaves everybody blind, right? Like, that doesn't work. That doesn't solve anything. Go back to the mafia days and stuff, right? Or even the gangland shootings. Somebody accidentally does something and it sets off this chain reaction where they want to retaliate. Well, then they get upset that they retaliate. Then they want to retaliate back. Well, how dare they do? They're all dead now, right?
What do you mean gangland days? Look at cities like Chicago. It's like, look, we lose 20-something people every weekend. We lose over 20 young kids a weekend in Chicago over violent shootings. That is a problem. That needs to be addressed. So if you care about any lives at all, don't you want to know how you can help that situation?
And that's part of the narrative.
Your media is ignoring that. Your mommy and daddy media, your mommy and daddy politicians are ignoring that.
Well, and the other thing here that I want to allude to now, just on a deeper spiritual level, and that is, you can't do anything about it, right? Meaning, unless you're a judge, or jury person, or a lawyer, or whatever, there's really not much you can do to affect this case. So if you're allowing this to interfere with your inner peace, if it's causing your relationship issues, if you're going to work upset, if you're being depressed about it, whatever, stop. Right? You got to understand and accept the fact that there's things in this world that are beyond your control. Control what you can control. And the best way you can control that, and this is the same thing with spirituality, man. Spirituality 101, man. I can't do anything about your suffering, but what I can do is not add to it.
Right.
So I can't I can't make it happen for you, but I can do my best to treat you with love,
Right.
compassion, and kindness. So therefore, I don't add to the suffering that you're already dealing with.
Right.
So if you really truly want to impact the George Floyd case and everything else, don't let it affect your inner peace so much to the point where you
Right.
start being rude and vengeful to the people around you. Don't start losing friendships. Don't start seeing racism when there wasn't racism. Don't start, ridiculing and judging everybody else around you, getting angry because of this situation triggered some emotional responses out of you. That is the best way you can help George Floyd. And kids, or parents, teach your children how to be loving and respecting to everybody around them. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. I'm not talking about just boys, girls. I'm not talking about just racial lines, but even the police as well. They're people. They're humans. They have families. Most police are going to that job to help protect and serve, man. Be kind to people around you. Treat people with love and dignity and respect. And you
Right.
might notice you get a whole different
Right.
vibe from everybody, man. But if you go into it with the vibe of everybody hates me, everybody's against me, everything's a problem, you're right. That's what you're gonna get.
Right.
But if you go
Well,
into it with some love and compassion, you'll be surprised at what you get back. And I had to personally learn that lesson the hard way.
right. It reminds me of for those of you out there that have been cheated on, just look at it like this. There's a lot of people out there that have been hurt by a loved one, right? And then they think they got past it, they're moving on, and then they have a friend or a close person to them, or just someone they know, and they start talking about some things that may be similar to what you experienced. That reignites some of your own personal emotions because you really didn't heal. You didn't forgive. You didn't heal. You didn't use spirituality or philosophy to get past the situation. You just kind of brushed it under the rug, just forgot it. So then when your friend or family member kind of really needs you, and it may or may not be the same exact situation as yours, but it's so reminiscent that it brings out your old pain, all your pain. You jump on it and you say things and you advocate for some of the same responses that you wish you would have done. So if
Yeah.
you didn't walk away, you say you need to walk away, girl. If you didn't hurt him or hit him, then you say you need to hurt him or hit him. In other words, we have to be able to deal with our pains when they exist and when they happen. Because if we don't teach our children how to ask for help, how to process information, how to heal the pains that they're feeling, and we simply just validate their reactions and responses and give them excuses for their behaviors, then how is that going to look in the future? That kind of emotion marinating can come out very harmful in the future. And so we're not doing our kids any justice by the way we're communicating about this particular issue. You know, we need to make it about what it really is. What it really is was Minnesota Police Department issue, yes. Training issues, yes. But there's been much more past that now. It's been about what emotions did it bring up in you? What did it make you think? What did it make you feel? And what did you want to do with those emotions and feelings? What was your go to? Was your go to do something physical? Was your go to go to church? Was your go to go pray? Was your go to go hug somebody? Was your go to go feed the homeless? I don't care what it was. What was your go to? How did you want to deal with it? And I think what we're seeing is that a lot of people just wanted to hit something.
Yeah.
Just give me something to break. Let the bodies hit the floor kind of
Yeah,
deal.
man. Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, I get it too.
That would have been my if I was a early 20s young man in today's society. That's exactly, give me something to break.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's where I would be right now. And I would feel very justified because every time I turn on the news and they would say, yeah, go do it. It'd be like, shh. Well,
Yeah.
my parents, because my dad's a peaceful guy. I said, like, Dad, you're not with it, Dad. You don't understand.
Parents
Because
just
I've
don't
had this
understand.
conversation with my dad. I said, Dad, you don't understand the way the United States of America looks at you, Pop. It's not like that the way you think it is. This is the way it is. And I would have been validated to go commit the crimes that I was doing rather than being told, Louis, stop being so stupid. Don't be a stupid idiot. Because that's exactly what my dad always said. And he was right. Dad, I love you. Thank you for never validating my vengeance and always telling me that that's just your emotions and your problem.
Yeah, my mom actually did the same. I think my mom had unique perspective because she worked in the jail for so long. So she got to see the direct result of people who break the law. Because,
Right.
there is a law that says you're not allowed to go and hurt somebody because they, did something wrong to you. Uh,
Right.
um, and so don't get it twisted. You are also a criminal then if you do that. Um,
And Trinity, isn't that the sad thing about all? Here's the sad thing. I don't think the adults the supposed adults that are in the room, and I think there's very little of them, but I don't think they really realize of how many young children 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or even just next year are going to get in trouble because of this, because they didn't
yeah,
learn the lesson they should have learned. Right now, they're going to go do something, and somebody's not going to deal with it. Someone's not going to accept that behavior. They're going to go pop off at the wrong person, and something
yeah.
bad's going to happen. Now, and I would urge you to be honest about all the videos you ever watch about any kind of brutality. Were Was it really just I'm walking to the store to buy something and then boom, I got shot? Is that really what it is? Or was it that we're not teaching our children, dude? Like I taught my daughters. I taught my you get pulled over, put both hands on the wheel. Why? Because I've been in bad situations. Put both hands on the wheel. Don't you dare! Oh, don't open that glove box while they're coming up on your car. I did that before, and I opened
Yeah.
that glove box, and oh my God, that is not a good thing. They don't know what's in that glove box. They might think that you're reaching for a gun. So you keep both hands on the wheel, and you follow every instruction. We will fight it later, baby. We will fight it later. Don't pop off. Don't say anything. Keep your mouth shut. Don't answer any questions but the most basic questions. Call me as soon as you can. We'll handle it. We need to teach our kids that as black and brown people if we really
And
believe that
white
we're
people,
victimized. Teach
everybody.
them to stop. No,
Yeah.
I'm saying if you really feel victimized,
Yeah. Oh,
don't
yeah.
run. Don't run. Don't. Hey, you lay down. Lay down with your arms spread. It's going to hurt, by the way. I don't care if you lay down. They're going to jump on your back. Just be weary of that. Once they're pissed off, you're going to get a knee on the back. You are going to get thrown
Yep.
against the wall. You could have your hands up and your legs spread. They're never spread far enough. They're going to kick your ankles farther. It happens every single time. But you have to just know, damn it, man. Just I'll call my dad afterwards, or I'll call my mom afterwards. That's what we got to teach our kids.
Yeah.
The Because I used to fight the teachers. I used to fight law enforcement. My parents always said, just shut up, and we'll deal with it later. Just
You
stop.
know,
Don't fight them, because then you're for sure going to be wrong. Because in that moment, the teacher is the judge and the jury. In that moment, the law enforcement officer is the judge and the jury. You shut up, and I will deal with it later with you. That's how we have to teach our children.
and I'm glad you touched on that, and I'm glad it wasn't the white dude that said it, so I could just echo it.
Well, because we're going to
um,
get these kids killed, man.
yeah.
Tell them to
Well,
stick a
that's
camera in
what.
their face, defy it. They don't have the right to search your car. They
Yes.
don't have the right to do it. All we're going to do is get a young person killed, because they're going to try to apply that stupid street knowledge that we're trying to teach our kids, and we're going to get our kids killed. Stop teaching your kids that bullshit.
Yeah. I. So yeah, I'm gonna speak on that for a minute, and that is, that's the thing that does worry me, is what we as a society are teaching our young children today, our youth, and even some of our adults, man,
Right?
is you have more power and you have the authority when you're out on the streets.
Yeah.
And maybe because I grew up in a hood type atmosphere, I've always learned the golden rule: he who has the gun makes the rules. So I don't care. I know I have my Bill of Rights and everything else in the Constitution, but if a police officer pulls me over and he's got a badge and a gun, you make the rules right now, bro. Even if you're 100% wrong, you've got a gun and you can shoot me. So automatically, by definition, you make the rules right now.
Right.
And that's the thing that I don't like, this narrative right now where they're saying, I have to teach my little brown child or my little black child to be fearful of the police. And it's like, that's part of the problem. Stop teaching people to be afraid of the police. Teach them to
Right.
follow directions, follow the commands. If the cop tells
Mm-hmm.
you you're under arrest, it's too late, dude. If they're
Mm-hmm.
already pulling the handcuffs, it's too late. You're not talking your way out of it anymore. You're done. Stop trying to pull, as they call
Well,
resisting.
right.
Stop. Stop. Just
Well,
do your. Well, first of all, don't do anything illegal. Second of all, if the cops are now talking to you and doing things, the roles are reversed now. Now you are
right.
your job is to just basically shut up, listen, and do
Right.
as you're told. Period.
Right.
And I used to be very anti-authority. Well, I still am anti-authority, if I'm honest. Um, but what helped me learn that the most, if I'm honest with you, because I have my own run-ins with the law, and yes, I know that knee in the back of the thing freaking hurts, and they all do it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I know I'm white, but I got hit by cops. But no, the what really taught me was when I got into the postal service. That's when I started to really learn, and the way I did it was, uh, uh, I learned a little bit when I worked for the courthouse because I got to see the inner workings of it all, and I realized that, dude, you have no like when you get pulled over, just shut up. But what it really hit home was at the postal service when I became part of the union. And in there, I was still fiery, man. And anytime management would do something that was against our contract, I wanted to fight, dude. I wanted to like, yo, hey, what are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. And it never worked out for me when I did that. It would
Mm.
always escalate. They would always get pissed off, and I was always have a much bigger issue to deal with. I would win at the end of the day because the contract was always on my side, and I stayed within the parameters of that. But it was an uncomfortable win. It took a lot of
Right.
time and stress and energy to win because I escalated in that particular situation right then and there. And what I found out through my years was they don't know the contract in any way, shape, or form. Their job, they're just showing up trying to get things done. They don't read the contract. They don't know it. They don't know when they're stepping on somebody's toes or when they're not following it or whatever. And if you
Right.
try to call them on it, it triggers their own insecurities and it becomes aggressive at that moment, right? So what I learned was this is a very simple phrase: management has the right to mismanage. That was the phrase that we used to always have. Deal with it, grieve it later. And so if I saw something that was wrong, just write it down, go and grieve it later. And you know what
Right. Right.
happened? We won almost every single time, and there was no stress, there was no
Yep.
escalation, there was nothing, and we ended up winning. Um, and I see so many of these videos to where the cop is dead wrong, but they're justified because the person was not following the directions that they were given. And so
Right.
therefore that cop that was wrong now looks right because you just
Yeah.
gave him that license to do what he just did. If you would have
Yeah.
just shut up, if you would have just followed the commands, did what you had to do, you both would have walked away, and probably
Right.
nobody would have broken any rules. But if they did, you'd have so much more of a
Right.
standing than when you acted a fool and did all sorts of craziness. And that's what upsets me is they're just following this narrative, man. There's like these like police officers with Klan hoods out there just hunting down people of color, and that's just not happening. You and I
No.
both have a lot of police officer friends. I have some family members. Like I talk to these people a lot, and they're not these evil people out there trying to chase down black and brown people. That's just not what they're
Right.
doing. They're out there trying to get home, is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get home
Right.
safely. Their job is to try to keep people safe, enforce the rules, and get home safely. Are they flawed? Yes. Does that mean that sometimes they're going to pull over and they're going to have some attitude? Does that mean that this officer all week long has arrested 72 black dudes who are wearing a certain type of an outfit, doing something illegal, and giving them attitude? So does that mean when they find the 73rd one, they're probably going to expect that he's going to be like the other 72 incorrectly? Probably, because he's human. I'm not justifying it. But if that's what you see all day, the same thing. If your spouse comes home and slaps you in the face every single day they come home for 7 months straight,
Right.
do you really think on the 7th month in one day you're not going to expect that? Of course you're going to. That's just how we're built. It's a routine. But it just bothers me a lot that this narrative, and I see it being taught to my kids in school, I see it on the media, I see it on the social media, I see it everywhere, is police bad, they're all out to get you, and there's different rules for different people. And I'm not going to sign off on that.
Well, there's definitely a lot of cultural issues here, but I think that each culture needs to address it within themselves. Like one thing I'm very happy with is that, within the Latino cultures, it's very mind your parents kind of culture. And I don't know about the way the rest of the cultures. I can only speak about my own and the way I was raised, right? So, what we always got made fun of, when cops. I always remember because we would shut down and not talk, and they would always go like, "What? No speak English?"
Yeah,
Because
sure.
that would be our joke. Be like, no hablo inglés. That'd be the
Yeah,
joke. The key is to just shut up. So you could run up on like even a group of gangbangers, and typically what's going to happen is everybody just kind of stands there, turns around, lays down however you want, and that's part of the cool and toughness. Is like, cop, you don't scare me. I ain't running from you. I ain't doing nothing. You ain't got nothing on me, man. Go ahead, take me in. I'll be out tomorrow. And that's the attitude, right? So there's a very different vibe because think about it. If police were as, like you said, wearing hoods and out there to kill black and brown people, it'd be there's
there'll be a lot
20%
of them.
Latinos out there. There's only 13% black people. There's like 20% Latinos, and you can watch the news and you constantly see like, look at the border patrol. Look at how many Mexicans they. Do you ever see them fight? They're sitting there, they're fighting for their freedom. They're running for their freedom. They know that many of them are getting deported, and yet what do? They might, as soon as they know their little hiding spot in the bush is caught, they just walk out of the bush and they sit there calmly and peacefully. If they would fight or struggle or start trying to hit the border patrol agent, what do you think would happen to them? Yeah, they're going to be shot. Yeah, they're going to be hurt. That's what will happen. So a lot of it is just the whole cultural ideology that when you're caught, or let's deal with it later. I think as parents, we all need to have that conversation. And I'm not blaming the victims. So don't watch this and go like, you're blaming Florida. You're blaming. No, I'm not. I'm simply saying that as parents or as people, you have to focus on what you can change. See, I can change with my vote what the outside world does. I can change with my voice, maybe some perceptions or some ideologies that people may have if I can inspire them at all. But I can truly change my behavior, my thought process, and how I teach my children. That I have full control over. And even then, parents, you know the deal. We can only teach our children. It doesn't mean they're going to do what we say they're going to do. You know, so all you can do is inspire and teach. But I know if I come out of vengeance, I'll teach my kids vengeance. I know if I come out of hate and anger and frustration, that's what I'm teaching my kids. So that I cannot do. I have to remain as peaceful and calm and try to help them understand this teachable moment. We're watching a very teachable moment.
Yes.
And we can't trust, you know, mommy Democrat and daddy Republican to teach our children properly. We can't teach, we can't have mother CNN and father Fox News teach our children correctly, because they're not. No. All they're doing is stirring the pot. Stirring the pot. And trust me, I love stirring the pot like the next person, because I like to get my laughs. But this is a very serious moment, and we need to take it very seriously. We need to teach our kids what's really going on right now and process through our emotions so that we can forgive who we need to forgive and heal. We need to really heal. If you have some pain that's coming up, again, I'm going to say it again. If you have any kind of pain that's being stirred up because of what you're watching on TV, then you need to probably turn off that TV, seek some professional help, and talk about it and heal through it. Because if not, what you're going to do is you're going to just keep the hate going to the next generation. That's not where we need to be.
That's all I got right there, man. I'm not even gonna. That's the last words of the show, right there. That was enough said. So the only thing I will say for everybody who's still watching is thank you for watching. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, and share buttons if you think it would offer value to anybody. Once again, you can follow us on social media. He is at the Dope Doctor. I am at the Dharma Guy. If you want to watch what we do live, you can go to facebook.com/WPSN99. And that's all I got, man. That was a perfect way to end it. I don't think anything else needs to be said. So, see you guys. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.